That's one of the
Um,
clearest.
if you take on h6, then the g6 pawn's really weak.
Okay, so after take, what would you do after that?
Um, bring the queen in.
To what square?
Uh, hmm.
You have to be careful that you don't give black a chance to defend or counterattack. I mean, right now, black's pieces are completely tied up.
Hmm.
So, I mean, I'm not saying what you're saying is bad. Just make sure that you have a clear plan, because if you don't, it's possible that black can kind of reorganize his forces and give you some troubles. So, I mean, you're clearly winning. You shouldn't have to, give black even a remote chance.
Right. Um, f3 stays on the rook, but
Right, but again, we're not really threatening anything.
right. Takes. Maybe trade the queens off.
Okay, but does trading queens off help us?
No, not really.
Yeah, because it allows black's king to get in. So, for example, if we play queen e6, then take king f7, and okay, we lose this pawn, but now this bishop gets active. So now this
Yeah.
bishop can go to g5, and now, I mean, of course white's probably still winning, but it's still not, it's not as clear as it should be. So there are several plans. One is indeed take, and then simply knight f4, just attacking this pawn. And it's hard for black to defend this pawn. Because now if queen f7, now we can probably play queen e6. Because now if takes, we can take with the knight. And
The
now
check,
we're at
yeah.
And now if the king goes to e7, knight takes c5, check, wins the rook.
Right.
So,
Right.
so that's one way. But something that's even cleaner is queen b2. Because now we're trying to infiltrate along this diagonal. So now we're threatening the very very dangerous queen h8 check and queen takes h7 check, and just winning all the pawns with check. So take with check, take with check, take everything with check. And that's also very hard to defend. So white kind of does a mix of the ideas and plays h6 first. So now he's creating weaknesses on the king side, and now getting ready to play queen b2, and then queen h8 check and queen d7 mate. So
Okay.
it's pretty much over here. Black pretty much has to try queen f7, but instead he plays bishop g5, so queen b2. So now we're threatening check and mate. So only move is to play here. And now, how do we finish the game? So now notice, by the way, that this queen and king are in a precarious position, right? Because what's being threatened currently?
Rook e7 with the interference and then checkmate.
Oh, rook e7. Yeah, it's actually beautiful. But
Thank you.
but actually, you give black some hope. You give black some hope. I mean, you're absolutely right that if bishop takes, this is mate.
And then queen takes.
Queen takes.
Knight takes.
This is actually not completely over. I mean, you are winning, but I mean, this pawn is going to fall.
Right.
And bishop and rook actually are more dangerous than you think, because this bishop can go back to f4, defend this pawn, and really all of black's pawns are defended. So it's actually kind of hard for white to make progress. So there's actually something that's even cleaner than that. But the thing to notice is that knight f6 is the move. So how do we try to get knight f6 in? So king g8. So now what?
Right.
So we want to try to force this bishop off of this diagonal.
Right. So f4
Right,
would
exactly. So f4. So now obviously you
immediately.
can't take this way. You can't take this way. So you have to go back. So bishop d8. And now what? Now here's where the pretty part comes in. And of course you're absolutely right. If you play knight e7, it also wins, and rook e7 also wins. But there's something that's even slightly bigger.
Queen g8, queen takes. Rook f7.
So rook e8 doesn't quite work.
Right.
Again, the rook defends, but it's actually kind of simple. But simply knight f6 check. So now we're just, forking the queen and the king.
Okay.
So bishop takes is forced. And now queen
Mhm.
takes, and now actually black's in kind of a zugzwang. Because the queen can't move because of rook e8 check. The rook can't move because of rook e8 check and queen g7 check. So black really much has to play d5. Then after pawn takes, white resigns. Black resigns because rook b6, for example, just rook e8 wins, and then mate. So in this position, it's pretty much over.
Okay.
So yeah. So basically, we finally exchanged this knight off for this bishop, but only because we have checkmate. So, and of course, if not, if black played a6 or something, we could just play rook e6, rook d6, and rook d8, and that was completely hopeless as well. So, and if queen f7, of course, and then rook e8, and this is hopeless too. So that's how to take advantage of another example of taking advantage of the knight. So let me give you one more before we stop. Okay, let me give you one more example. So
Awesome.
put this on the board. Okay. So we already see that black has the knight forever, but not quite, because it can be exchanged for that bishop if you notice. But we'll see what happens in this game. So, okay. I think this is it. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, this is the position. Okay. So, black has just played queen to e8. I'm not sure. I think it came from d7. I'm not sure, but so here, what was the plan? What was black's plan with queen e8 here? Black actually has a very specific, concrete plan in mind. So what was his plan?
Are we playing as black or as white?
Yeah, we're playing as black. Yeah, so I flipped it for you.
The f5 square is defended.
So I mean, first of all, let's talk about the weak squares. So that's always
Right.
what we like to do. So what are the weak squares?
H3.
Yep.
And B5.
Yep.
And E4.
Yep.
That knight's pretty good.
Yep.
And
what's related to E4?
The E3 pawn is weak.
Yeah, but there's another square that's also close to E4 that might come to play. I mean, especially if white ends up taking this piece.
Then F3?
Yeah, exactly. So F3 is also a weak square. So yeah, H3, F3, G2, D3, C4, pretty much every light square is weak.
Right.
For some way or the other. Okay, so black just played queen e8. So what is black's idea here?
Well, if he exchanges the, I don't know. The only thing he gets behind his bishop, but other than that, he can't. He's not using the E file. A4, the square you clicked on.
Yeah, sorry. So let me just clarify. So black played queen d7 to e8. So So what were you saying was the idea now? That black's trying to do what now?
Well, he's getting behind his bishop, but other than that,
Okay, yeah. For what purpose?
He can't really. He's trying to get out from behind his pawns and use the H5 square, maybe.
That's good.
He can move. He can do E5, but that weakens his F pawn.
Mm-hmm.
and and then e3 check, and he can win the queen, maybe eventually.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Unlikely. But okay. So give me a couple of squares where this queen might be going.
Um, from
There's really
from
only
here.
two. So
Yeah.
what are the two squares?
Um, he's coming towards the king side, so he wants to either be on maybe f8 or
Well, I mean, you had the right idea at first. It wants to control h5, right?
right.
Okay. But what's the other square it might be going to? This one's a little less obvious.
I guess a4 still.
Okay, but a4 via what square? Because right now I can't
Um,
get to a4.
a1 maybe.
You mean a8?
A8, sorry, yeah,
Yeah,
A8
yeah,
is
that's
the
exactly right.
bishop.
Yeah. So this queen moved to e8 in order to influence the h5 square, but also to influence a8 square. Because white played queen d3 here, and now what does black play?
Um, hmm. If he wants to get over the A8 square, he could take that knight with his B8 bishop.
Okay, so bishop takes knight. Okay, pawn takes. And now what? So obviously white didn't want to open up the g file, but so now what?
Um, so now bring the queen over to A8.
Well, there's something we can do
Well,
first.
yeah. Um,
But you're right. That's one of the ideas. But there's something we can do first.
F F5 or bishop F5, and then trade the bishops
Right,
off.
exactly. So now we want to play bishop h5. So now white has a very tough choice. He either trades this bishop for this bishop, in which case this knight becomes the permanent knight that we love,
Uh
or
huh.
if he takes the knight, then this bishop infiltrates and this queen infiltrates. So
Hmm.
so for example, if say he plays bishop g2, then after queen a8, this knight is still occupying a menacing position, and if white ever chooses to take this, then this pawn on e4 will be supporting a bishop f3 idea.
Uh huh.
So, uh, so white actually instead chose what he thought was lesser of the two evils, and played queen a3 so that he could control
Queen
the a file.
A3. Okay.
But he allowed this knight to be permanent. So bishop takes f3, rook takes f3. Okay, so again, we got this permanent knight, we got this horrible bishop, but again, material is very limited, and white does control this only open file currently. So the question is, how do we continue as black to try to create a weakness? Because I mean, we do have this dominant knight on e4, but we really can't attack any of white's weaknesses because they can all be defended by this bishop or this rook or this queen.
Right.
So what should black's plan be here?
Well, if queen H5 gives you, I mean, you've got pressure on the rook, and you can bring the rook across.
True, but the queen is on the rook right now, right?
Right.
So it doesn't really do anything per se.
Right. Um,
So what should black's plan be here? So
if he,
should black try to contest the a file, or should he try to, you know, do something on the
if he
king
goes,
side, or should he try to reroute his knight someplace, or what should black's plan be?
well, if he goes, I mean, he can start bringing that H pawn up again and go H5, and then try to create the weakness on there, and then if he,
Okay, so yeah, that's exactly what he should do.
yeah.
But so black makes a couple of preparatory moves first. He
Hmm.
plays rook g7 in order to defend this pawn, so that he doesn't have to worry about anything like any shenanigans with queen a7 or anything, because he
Okay.
has time. He doesn't have to. White can't do
Right.
anything other than shuffle back and forth. So white plays king g2, and now black plays queen d8 to give his queen more scope along these diagonals. Again, just taking his time. King f1 trying to get the king out. Queen f6 attacking this pawn. Rook d3 defending this pawn. And now h5. Exactly like you said.